We're really happy to be here today. You know, when they asked me to introduce Sean, I was really excited for two reasons. Number one is a personal one. About 1,000 years ago, when Lynn and I came here and started a company, we didn't know anybody in Atlanta. And one of the very, very first people we met was Sean Banks. And Sean didn't help us just as an investor. He connected us with the community. He helped us understand how to get in place with people like Georgia Tech, and he helped us, frankly, help hire a lot of our early talent. So he was hugely instrumental to us, and I'd say it always in a, just not a self-serving way. He just really wanted to help our company. The second reason I want to introduce Sean is, a lot of the things that we take for granted today, the Fintech Innovation Challenge, the Fintech Symposium, which turned into this. Sean was instrumental in forming those things. The one that we especially are interested in is Sean did create the Fintech Hall of Fame, which is what we're now inducting him in today. Now, we probably shouldn't be too impressed because it took him almost 20 years to get himself into it. But with all that being said, Sean's been a great friend to us, to the company, and we're really excited to be here to introduce him today.
So while Sean is very well known for all the stuff that he's done in the tag community, the fintech community in Atlanta and even beyond, he was also working full-time at a company called TTV that he really helped build from the ground up. TTV today has over 8 unicorns and 4 IPOs, and more I'm sure coming. He's a coworker, and I asked a lot of people at TTV to tell us about Sean, and I had to write this down because I don't want to miss anything. So almost exclusively, everyone said he is principled, he is valued, he is determined. Everyone said he's dedicated. A lot of people said he would walk through fire. Somebody backstage who you're going to meet said he would actually eat a building for TTV if needed. He's funny. He's been backstage cracking jokes the whole time. He is absolutely hilarious. And he is super smart. If anyone at TTV has a problem, we call Sean. We love Gardner, we love Tom, we call Sean. So with that, I am thrilled to introduce Sean Banks, a coworker and a friend for many, many years. Sean?
Thank you all for being here. I really am truly humbled to be the 17th member of the Georgia Fintech Hall of Fame. As I reflect on the folks who are already inductees, you've got rock stars, you've got titans of the fintech industry, you've got pioneers, you have Scott Grimes, and so all of those are wonderful things to be affiliated with. I can't say thank you enough to my partners at TTV. Our founding partners, Gardner and Tom, gave me a platform by which I could find some kind of non-traditional ways to contribute into the growth and the success of our firm. Mark Johnson, who's not here right now, he's currently in Europe conducting trade, most of it's wine, was the vice chairman at CheckFree and was one of our investors before joining us as a partner. And Mark was always very involved in the Atlanta ecosystem, a chairman at Venture Atlanta, on the board of TAG. And Mark introduced me to the TAG folks and said, this could be a very interesting platform for us to help build the TTV brand. In 2006, John Hayes, who was one of our founders at F-Trans, a local fintech, called me up and he said, hey, Sean, I bet you guys track who you look at in Atlanta as early stage companies. I said, yeah, absolutely. So he and I came up with a list of public and private companies in Georgia that were in and around fintech. And that list was about 70. I think in 2022, the ecosystem report that was put out by TAG included 210 names on that list. So that's quite a bit of growth. So TAG decided that they were going to create the FinTech Society. And so we weren't really big enough yet to be a real society, so they tucked us inside the TAG Finance Society. The only rationale being is that the first 3 letters were Fin, and that was it. In the early days, a lot of people didn't understand what FinTech was. Glenn Sarvati and I were at a TAG showcase for the symposium, or not, it was a tag showcase for the society. So effectively, you've got tons of tables representing every society, and we had these young Georgia Tech students who walked up to us and they asked, why is the Technology Association of Georgia interested in technology in Finland? It's like, that's not the Finn. So finally, we've kind of gotten a little bit of our groove going on. And I really have to thank, Tino and Larry as the CEOs, as I've been in this position, have been very, very accommodating for what we tried to do. When we got started, we were almost like a pirate ship. We were doing things TAG was not necessarily comfortable with. And our TAG liaisons, Derek Howard, Barbara Martin, and Rebecca, they were put in this unenviable position of having to go back to the mothership and say, FinTech is doing X, we're sorry. So they were begging for forgiveness for us before we did permission. And when Larry came on, he really embraced this and put us for the FinTech South show in 2018 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We were the very first event that ever happened at MBS that was not a sporting event. We were very proud of that fact. I want to let you know, though, none of this happens without the TAG FinTech Society Board. The Where Georgia Leads Ecosystem Report, the Innovation Awards you just saw, the Advance Awards, the Georgia FinTech Academy, FinTech South, and the Hall of Fame, all of that came from not me, but the folks who worked with me on that board. And so if you all are here, OGs, you know who you are, please stand up. This is really for you guys, and I want to give you guys a round of applause and say thank you one more time for this award. Thank you.
Inducting Sean into the Georgia FinTech Hall of Fame is so fitting with our theme of power of connection.
Everybody knows Sean because everybody's connected to Sean.
He knew that if we were all connected and that if we were collectively bringing together our skills, our knowledge, our brands, that we would be stronger.
He really fostered innovation throughout a bunch of different companies from the investment arm. And I think that that's an important part of the ecosystem.
Sean was the one that really did the work and provided the leadership and the mentorship and the coaching that represents us, frankly, globally.
Sean is one of the most genuine people I've met. It's not what's in it for Sean, it's really what's in it for other people.
He chose nurturing entrepreneurs and giving young people a good chance.
He's been able to achieve something very few people have, which is to have sustaining impact on the FinTech ecosystem.
When we started the TAG FinTech Society back almost 17 years ago, we had no idea what kind of impact we could make on the city and state.
Atlanta has become known as the FinTech capital of the world.
The impact that he has in the FinTech community goes beyond Georgia. That's Sean's superpower.
I'm not here without Tom and Gardner, without their mentorship, friendship, and leadership. They allowed me to have a platform to get out into the community, to help draw the connections together.
He's been really my right-hand man and partner, and so everything we've done at TTV has Sean's fingerprints on it.
That national and global reach puts him with confidence at the table with people like Barry McCarthy and Paul Garcia and other icons of our FinTech community.
I want you to think about what you can do with your legacy moving forward to leave this ecosystem better and to leave an opportunity for others to follow in your wake and do great things.
I am so honored to get to celebrate this incredible award with you. It's a true reflection of the commitment that you've made for so long to this community. I'm proud of you for that commitment. I'm proud to have you as a friend, and I'm proud to know you.
Congratulations, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir.
So you told me that your calendar invite says FinTech South torture session.
Correct.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to talk about the least is myself, so I appreciate the platform for that. Thank you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the journey.
Perfect.
In the FinTech industry.
Yeah.
Atlanta born and bred, officer, U.S. Naval Academy. You're also a lawyer and an MBA. So you do like torture.
I was a wayward soul, no doubt about it.
So tell us how you found your way to fintech.
Serendipitously, really, I had really wanted to get into the venture world, and 2002 rolled around, and Tom and Gardner were kind enough to take on an MBA intern for the summer. And at the time, TTV was a Georgia generalist fund with a fintech spin to it based on our limited partners. And we graduated into focusing exclusively on fintech based on just the backgrounds. Tom had been head sales at IBM for the small to medium-sized Americas, and some of his biggest customers were the banks. Gardner, grew up doing every banking job possible through Synovus and knew TSYS like the back of his hand, and obviously Mark Johnson at CheckFree. And so we looked across the landscape of where we had connections and where we had the ability to make a difference, and fintech fit in. So did I plan to become a fintech investor? No, but sometimes you just have to kind of roll with where the wind blows.
Well, that extensive background through your education, through your naval experience, how did that really allow you to be successful in this sort of pioneering the fintech area?
Well, a lot of it had to do with just the flexibility of the diverse background, if you will. Serving America was something that I wanted to do coming directly out of high school, and giving back to the community was also important to me. I love Atlanta. Atlanta's in my DNA. Georgia's in my DNA. When I left for Annapolis, I got to meet people from all over the world and all over the country, and it's amazing how different parts of the country really are. And this place has superpowers around the community and the connections and the general friendliness that folks have for each other. And it looked like something we could really capitalize on once we found that kind of core fintech cluster. And it seems to have worked. This has been a great event, and just the fact that we're on the map now, when anyone and everyone talks about payments capitals of the world and fintech capitals of the world, that's something I'm really proud of.
You've mentioned Tom and Gardner many times.
Yeah.
And not only here on stage, but you've always given a lot of credit to the team. Open the aperture on that event. Who are some other people that have been influential in your development, in your career?
It has to be Larry Williams. I mean, without Larry, it's really, really fun being in the job that we're in. So you get to meet folks like Scott and Lynn when they had left Richmond and Virginia to come down to Atlanta. And so all of those CEOs that you get to spend time with. But I'll give a lot of credit to the folks like Glenn Sarvadi and Don Campbell and Jeff, our pilot friend who flew in the war because he's older than me. And then you've got guys like Scott Mills and then Mike Morris, and I'm going to forget folks, but all of those folks have been very influential on kind of helping me. And Mark, of course, has been a very big influence as well.
Yeah. You joined TTV Capital in 2005. You've taken us through part of that journey. Y'all recently celebrated your 20-year anniversary. That's quite impressive. So take us through that evolution and how that last 2 decades, what are some of the key moments that are highlights for you?
Well, they hired me when I was 12, so I'm 32 now.
Obviously.
Yeah. There's a maturation process as you become an investor, and we talk openly about the fact that you learn through different cycles. You learn through different bubbles, if you will. You will see hot times, you will see cool times, you will see black swan events. And coming out of that, if you're introspective and self-reflective about what you could have done in preparation moving forward, or what would have been a better approach coming out of one of those, all of those factor into making you a better investor and understanding how to build a sustained, successful organization. Credit to Tom and Gardner too, as they have added additional partners. It's like adding new brothers and sisters to the team. The folks that we've brought on are amazing in their own, standing on their own, and when they add themselves to the TTV team, they become a multiplier. So it's been really, really a fun ride.
Well, you've had a lot of success, a lot of impact. You got to read some of this. TTV Capital has closed 6 funds.
Yes.
That's right. Making investments totaling $750 million, getting close to $1 billion, and well over 100 companies.
Yes.
Impactful. Been a lot of talk about startup funding, including fintech funding that's down over the past few years. Yet TTV funds keep attracting more investment capital. So tell us about that, how you're putting it to good use, your recent success with Feature Space. Talk about that journey and how you're continuing to be successful in this climate.
Venture capitalists can sometimes become herd animals. And when certain sectors tend to get hot, you will get a lot of what we like to call kind of visitors to a sector or a space. And so we've seen over time when fintech gets hot, or you start to see cryptocurrency and Bitcoin go way, way, way up in value, that suddenly every venture capital firm decides that they're going to be a fintech investor, right?
Flavor of the day.
Right, exactly. And for the handful of funds that are kind of sector specific around fintech like we are, they've been able to endure the ebbs and flows of what's going on. And we're able to parse through the noise and figure out who really has the right foundation for turning their company from an idea into, a juggernaut, if you will. Feature Space is a great example. Gardner got a call from one of our limited partners and said, hey, we've got this very interesting company over in Cambridge. Let's go see it. And Gardner's like, I love Boston. Well, it was Cambridge, England. And so he flew over there and
different accent.
Yeah, different accent, slightly different accent, Old English. The Feature Space came and opened their North American headquarters here because of what we had going on in Atlanta, and sold a visa for $1 billion back in December. And that's another great one. Scott and Len decided to build Cardlytics down here, another unicorn, because they knew the connectivity of what was going on down here in Georgia.
So what is your assessment of the overall assessment of the market today? And then what is it about a company that makes it stand out today compared to yesteryear?
Overall in the market right now, I think we're coming out of what was a slow 2023 and 2024. There's a lot of really good opportunities that are coming to market with companies that slowed down their growth trajectory to find profitability, are now stable with profitability and now seeking growth and have real insight into how to make that happen. So I think that's a very attractive element of the market that we're moving into right now. When it comes to what are the telltale signs that we look for, when you're looking at entrepreneurs, you see a lot of similarities in what they do. And I've found that over 20 years, sitting across from somebody, when you're a younger venture capitalist, you want to sound smart. And so you're going to tell them and ask them leading questions. When you get older, you learn to just shut up and let them prove to you that 1, they have command over their subject, 2, they are coachable, and 3, that they're responsive. If you cannot find that as a baseline for a founder, you're going to have a hard time. Beyond that, it's going to be kind of market-specific elements. It's understanding what the pain point is that you're solving for, how you're solving for it, and why someone is going to build a business case around whatever product or service you're offering.
My grandfather once said, he said, Larry, you don't learn anything by talking. So
no doubt
being
about
a good listener, being a good listener is critical.
Yet here we are, Larry.
Exactly. Yeah. TTV's capital investment portfolio has included multiple unicorns, companies with over $1 billion valuation. That's impressive, several of which have been based right here in Atlanta. So obviously, TTV, you look beyond the Atlanta market, you really look globally, as you just talked about with the UK. But talk about the attributes of the Atlanta market. What makes us special?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the people, the attitude of the people, the willingness of the people to kind of work in co-opetition with each other. There were jokes in the marketplace about one certain payment processor that nobody else wanted to really do business with. They're not around here much anymore, so that's always good. But it's really, you find a lot of folks who have worked across many of the similar organizations, and a lot of them are in Atlanta. And so you've got a lot of connectivity and ways to jumpstart and resources here to springboard the building and development of relationships with larger organizations so that smaller organizations can grow faster. Part of what we're trying to do with the Innovation Award, a lot of what Tommy Marshall was doing when they first started the Fintech Academy to start building a curriculum through the university system in Georgia around fintech to meet the needs. I think all of those things foster an environment, because our investments here in Georgia are not the only unicorns that have come out of fintech, and we're actually happy with that, because we don't want TTV's stamp to be the only measure of success for somebody coming out of here. It helps all of us if we've got a really good community and good founders and a good repeat entrepreneur environment going on.
So you've picked these companies, you invest in a lot of companies. Thinking about those unicorns, any particular times when you said, "Hey, we got one here. This one's going to take off," and how does that? So what clicks that says this is a big bet?
It's a great question. It really depends, which is the ultimate dodge. So let's stick with that. You'll see some companies grow like weeds, and that's extremely exciting. And so we've seen companies like Greenlight grow extremely fast in their customer base, and you can really start to tell that an organization has the chops, has the vision, has the concept of creating a category-defining solution. For somebody like a Greenlight, that solution is becoming the financial services tool for a household, children, family, elderly. We've seen other things where I've had unicorns, not necessarily in Atlanta, that are in a hot sector, and because they're in a hot sector, you have investors come in who want to pay 200 or 300 times forward-looking revenues, and we don't shy away from selling at that point. So yeah.
But in a lot of ways, your own career has sort of followed a path. You're a founding member of the team at TTV, and really thinking about the venture capital, really this focus on fintech, as you outlined before. So walk us through your own startup journey.
Well, I'm not a founding member of the TTV team. I'm
part of the founding team.
Part of a founding team. Not TTV. Yeah. So I did. I worked when I got out of the Navy and came back to Atlanta. I convinced Emily to let me work for free after having an MBA and a JD, and worked in a startup here because I wanted to get a sense for what it's like to be on the other side of the table. If I'm going to eventually want to become a venture capitalist, I need to have the empathy to understand what the founders are going through as they're trying to build and scale an organization. I think that's an important thing to know. Having had to go make a P&L, having gone out to land software contracts, having gone out to work through innovation, meeting all the expectations around, we sold to the government, big government organizations. So all of those foster into that tool bag that you take with you when you sit across the table from a prospective investment. You chaired TAG's FinTech Society for 13 years. Thank you for the 2-year commitment. Mm-hmm. And dating back, really, as we say, you were doing it before fintech was cool. Yeah.
So you've lived through a few business cycles, and I'll share. When I did come on board to run TAG, I did see the potential in fintech. And Sean and I talked, and we talked about ways that we could elevate it. And he was very excited about that. And then one time there was a moment where he paused and he said, "But Larry, we're the rebels.
Yeah.
We're the people that are working out, we're coloring outside the boxes. We like being the rebels. You're making us legitimate.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that. You've lived through the business cycles. How can TAG continue to support the fintech community, especially today and age?
Yeah, Larry tamped down a lot of dreams. Well, look, a couple things, right? So one of the things that we focused on with the FinTech Society that was a little bit different than some of the other societies was we would not hold events unless there was a reason to hold an event. So we were not going to be a hold on somebody's calendar. There's a monthly luncheon with FinTech. We would do our events when we had true content that might be interesting beyond just getting people in a room to be together. Two, as you have other societies, come to pass, there's an element of patience and intentionality that's required in order to build a sustainable ecosystem. I've been lucky enough to get called by groups in Cincinnati and Omaha and Charlotte who are trying to replicate what we do here in Atlanta. And I flew up to Cincinnati and I sat down with the head of Fifth Third Bank and the largest insurance company up there, and I told them, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail at the beginning, and you're gonna lose momentum because you're gonna try to do all of it all at once too fast. And being thoughtful and patient and resilient around understanding that it's a slow walk. When we started the FinTech Symposium, it was 2010. We had 100 people in the basement at 103 West. When we would do our lunch and learns in July when everyone was out of town, 7, 8 years later, we'd had 200 people at Maggiano's. So it took a while to build that critical mass, but it also required, patience and intentionality. And I tell the senior executives with the large fintechs, they don't necessarily just need your money, they need your time. It's not important that your logo's there. It's important that you're willing to spend the time with these startups, whatever it may be, whatever the forum might be. And that's how TAG can be that organizing convention around that in order to foster additional ecosystems spurring up here in Atlanta.
I think in addition, we have a unique culture here in Georgia and in Atlanta.
Yep.
We do have a collaborative culture. People that come here, as we've mentioned, like with Cardlytics, we want people to be successful. And the community will come together, even potential competitors, to really give people good advice and really help them on their way with a true belief that their success, your success is our success. And I think that's a unique part of the culture that a lot of people don't understand until they experience it for themselves. We heard from the FinTech Academy. We know the importance of talent today. What advice would you give people? And we've got folks from the FinTech Academy that are attending FinTech South this year. What advice would you give young people coming up and for their FinTech careers?
Broadly speaking, never stop learning. Recognize that you may not know everything. Respect the experience from the folks that you are working for, who may have ideas and thoughts and may have faced things. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. But part two, get on board with understanding how to use artificial intelligence and understand what it means for your career, what it means for your career path, and how you can harness that power in order to make yourself, one, critical, and two, more effective for whatever organization you go to work for.
AI, it's part of it. We've got to work in an AI world, at least learn how to use the tools, master the tools.
That's right.
Similar question, what advice do you have for folks, earlier startup founders, people that are thinking about the opportunities to build a company in FinTech?
Well, I think it's really, again, going back to those, be coachable, think through what your value proposition, what are you solving for somebody, and how are you going to build a business case that they're going to be willing to spend their money in order to further their business based on your solution set. So those are kind of the baselines for getting rolling. Yeah.
Excellent. Sean, congratulations once again for being this year's inductee into the Georgia FinTech Hall of Fame. Everyone, please rise and let's give him a round of applause.
Thanks, bud.
Come on, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.